action.
John.
We can cut that out.
Okay.
You ready? Hey everybody, we were going to share our vlog with you today, and Lainey took a lot of video throughout the day, but we realized that there was no sound on the video, so all that footage is useless. Unless you look at it like we did, and we thought we could overdub some audio onto that footage and make it useful. So yeah, so there that is, and otherwise we thought we would do kind of a recap of the day, and Lainey has come back from speaking at a women's event at a church. I don't know what the event was called, but
Heart to Heart
Heart to Heart
at Mulberry Springs Baptist Church.
Yep.
In Hallsville.
Yeah, and so she just talked about how good it was, and so I thought we should recap today, and she said, well, let me share some of what I shared there. So I thought that would be a great idea. So let's do that.
Okay. So they asked me to come and talk about Jude and his autism and just how that affects our family and what we've learned from that, because April is Autism Awareness Month. So I'm just going to condense this down to really points. When Jude was diagnosed, it took me about a year to accept his diagnosis. The way I explain it is this: when a child is diagnosed young, here is your child who's been diagnosed, and here are their peers. They're just a little bit ahead of your child. But as the children grow older, that developmental gap gets bigger and bigger and bigger to a certain point. And so that's what happened in that first year, is the gap became bigger and bigger, and so the differences became more obvious. And so that's why it took me about a year to really go, okay, there is definitely something going on. But it also was a journey to come to a place to where I believe that God created Jude with autism. And I don't personally get hung up on the vaccinations or the statistics or the environmental, causes, or what happened in utero. I have come to a place where I believe, as John Piper says, that if we don't believe that God creates people with disabilities, then we have a head-on collision with Psalm 139. Because Psalm 139 says that God knit us together in his womb, in our womb. And anyway, he talks about if we just believe that that disability just happens, then we take out the intimate creator and involved in that process. It's just this distant cosmic force that just allows something to happen. But you may think, well, that would be awful if, you believe that God disabled your child. But quite the opposite. I find so much peace in knowing that God is the author of all my son's impairments, because first it takes the blame off of myself. I don't have to go back in my head and try to figure out what I did wrong in my pregnancy, and I don't have to be fearful of it happening again, or I just believe that God created my son, and he created him the way that he wanted him, with a beautiful, beautiful purpose in mind. And so I said tonight, that's why we have more children. Like, we're not afraid of, oh no, what if we have another disabled child? Like, we believe that all that is ordained and predestined by God, with really, really good and beautiful purposes behind it. So you've also got Exodus 4:11 that talks when Moses is saying, God, I can't go lead your people. Like, I'm slow of speech. And God says, am I not the one who makes people blind, who makes them deaf, who makes them mute? I mean, God himself says that he is the one who gives and he takes away. Then you've also got John 9:3, where the disciples asked about the blind man, did his parents sin, that he was born blind? And Jesus himself says, no, he was born this way so the works of God would be displayed in him. So we believe that God created Jude the way he is. And it's brought us so much peace and so much joy knowing that this is no accident. And this has a purpose just as much as a strong-willed child has a purpose, a child with ADHD, a child with a bent toward whatever, good, bad, whatever. Like, you are fashioned and you are knit together, and it's all for the greater glory. It's all for the big picture of what God's doing and what we can't see. So, basically what I did tonight is I just shared little, what I call them golden treasures, little things that Jude has brought into our lives. And I just think it's so cool that this helpless, disabled, almost silent child has given us so much, has given us depth that we could not get any other way. And just that, like I said, the golden treasures that he has brought into our lives and the sin that he has pulled out of mine and John's lives. This child that's supposed to be helpless and is supposed to be dependent on other people is leading the way for us. He's making our family better. He's enriching our lives. And, because our hope is in God, we're able to see that. If our hope was just here on the earth, we wouldn't be able to see the good in it. But we have the greater glory that we're looking toward. And we sang this song tonight by Crowder. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can't heal. And that's how we live our lives. Like Paul said, these are just light and momentary troubles. Like God is doing something greater and bigger and just so wonderful, but he enables us to see that. So these are the things that we've learned. Number one, everything is usable. Even the darkest of the dark moments are usable. So remember that. Romans 8:28 supports that. All things work together for the good. Peeling back the layers. I talked about that. God uses our children to sanctify us, to peel back layers of sin. And every time a layer is peeled back and I see what I'm capable of, I'm in shock, But God is never, ever shocked. And he knows it's there. And yet he still saw it fit to make me the mother of my son and of my other son and my daughter, and still saw it fit for John to be the father of these children. He knows what's buried deep in us, and he uses our kids to unveil it and to show us what's there. So peeling back the layers. 1 Corinthians 15:10, by the grace of God, I am what I am. That's the only way we parent, is by God's grace, because we see daily junk at things that's in us. And I said tonight, why can't I just act like an adult? It's like, I feel like raising kids just brings out the kid in you, in a bad way. You're just like, I'm 30 years older than these little human beings. How come I can't act like it? But, the Lord uses those little human beings to grow us up and to grow us up in our faith and in the sanctification process. What Jude enables me to do. So the Lord has taught me to look at what Jude's autism enables us to do and not what it keeps us from doing. And so we challenge you to look at your circumstances the same way, whether it be autism or whatever. What is the circumstance actually giving to you and doing for you? And
hold on, let's start back over there. What is the circumstance?
What is the circumstance actually enabling you to do? Not what is it keeping you from doing? What is it giving to you, not taking away? And so learning how to see life like that, we've seen, Jude keeps us at home more. Mm-hmm. He keeps us spending time together as a family. Our relationship is extremely close because of how much we need each other. John doesn't have hobbies, we don't really spend time away from each other. And, not to say that you shouldn't ever spend time away or with hobbies, but Jude has crafted such a unique closeness within our family. We're just very tight knit because we have to be. It's almost like this survival.
Whenever you went to speak tonight, it was it wasn't just like a flippant, like, oh yeah, cool, go do that.
Yeah. No.
We'll just, the kids will just hang out and be fine.
No.
I mean, it was it was different. Mama was gone, and that affected everybody. But I mean, I definitely. I mean, it's not like we just need to stop doing things like that totally. I mean, God totally has used Lainey and will continue to use Lainey
And John too.
for things like that. I probably won't be speaking in a lot of women's events, but
Who knows?
maybe he'll use me in different ways. But just to show an example, tonight was different, but it's fine. I mean, it just shows the dependency on each other that we have.
Yeah.
have to have.
It's like the wheels fall off when one of us leaves. And so we really have to weigh, okay, is this worth the temporary, pretty intense chaos? And so when it comes to like being able to testify to what God's done in Jude, because we know that's a part of his whole purpose, then that's worth going to do. And so, of course, we can't do it really every weekend or every week, but we do, like with worship leading and speaking. But Jude has permanently solidified all my lifelong claims about what I believe. I feel like up until Jude, they were claims in my best efforts, but it's like when Jude came along, they became like who I am. From the depths of my being, my convictions took root, and they became something that I just lived out, because just out of sheer survival, it's like everything that I have said for all these years has been tested, and now it's been tested and proven, and I believe it, and my faith is stronger than ever. Jude gives us a captive audience, and it sounds comical, but I remember walking out of Sam's one day, and everybody just kept staring at us, and I said, if one more person stares at us.
And why were they staring at us?
Well, because Jude was having a lot of issues getting out of the store. Like
we weren't just walking out.
Throwing a fit.
Yeah.
And the Lord just quickly said, but isn't that what you want? You've been asking for an audience, for people to listen to you so that you can testify about what I've done. And it just hit me, wow. Like Jude is our golden ticket to having a captive audience. Like he is what brings all eyes to look on us. And like we have so many opportunities to share the gospel. I mean, who can walk into Walmart and cause just about everybody to look at them, in a crowded, busy place? We can. We can do that very easily. And
then we have the opportunity to treat that situation the way that God wants us to, with grace and still keeping our hope. And so, that's another way that people can look at us and go, wow, something's different about them. Like, I don't know if I could do that. And that's another motivation to stay in God's grace about that, because if we lose it, that's another testimony, that's a testimony about our lives. So.
And that's something I didn't even realize, is that like we don't have to even really verbally, when we're out in public, say, hey, we're Christians and like God is sustaining us. I mean, just the fact, like whenever Jude starts losing it and we stay calm and we talk to him in a certain way with a certain tone, it immediately sets us apart. And I had no idea that did anything for anybody until a few people recently came up to me and said, wow, like they were just so moved. And I'm thinking, by what? We didn't say anything. But that's the beauty of the situation. It's like we're able to be a testament to hundreds and thousands of people by just walking out into public. So basically, all back to what I was originally saying, we look at what our circumstance enables us to do and not what it keeps us from doing. So it's all in how you look at things. And worship is how you change that perspective. You got to look at the Lord and ask him to give you his perspective for it. Get a promise. That's something I've learned to do through Jude. God has given me several promises for him. And so when things get really, really hard, I'm able to stay alive because I go back to some things that God has specifically told me about Jude. And so I challenged the moms tonight to ask God for a promise for their circumstance or for their kids. because when it gets hard, you've got to have something to hold on to. And so we have some pretty sweet and precious promises that God's given us. Another thing that we've learned is my child's today does not determine or predict my child's future. And so we just chalk things up to a bad day. We've learned to just take it day by day and to not despair when we have a bad day and go into the future and create all these, hypothetical, scenarios and just build up fear inside of you. We've learned to just go, today was a bad day. We're moving on. And it's done. It's over with. And pray for a good day, but never to predict our child's future by the day that they had.
I yawned so noticeably.
That's
So
okay.
Go back. Can you go back?
No, we're going to keep this all.
We're not going to keep that.
Yeah. It's all good.
We won't.
Yes, we will. Okay, so, yeah, I think that's all I'm going to say on that. Bad days are quickly forgotten, and good days are also forgotten. And so, Psalm 12, 5, and 6, we need to remember God's goodness. And so, but I trust in your unfailing love. My heart rejoices in your salvation. I will sing the Lord's praise, for he has been good to me. Don't give too much credit to bad days, and give a lot of credit to good days. Because I can find myself, we're having a bad moment and just all of a sudden, my whole life is falling apart, everything's so depressing, and just totally forget that just an hour before, maybe Jude said his first prayer, or he said, I love you, or we had this sweetest moment. You have to stay positive and think about God's goodness. Don't forget about God's goodness, but practice forgetting about the bad days. And you don't even really have to practice it. It's funny how we've forgotten some things in our past that were so difficult with Jude that we're oh yeah, that was really hard, but once it's behind you, you just kind of forget, you get removed from the situation. And so yeah. And then lastly, ask God to open up your eyes to the beauty of your child or your situation. Psalm 13:3 says, give light to my eyes or I will sleep the sleep of death. I feel that a lot of times when we focus on the negative, that's when Satan just comes in and just causes our spirit to just shrivel up and die. And we just need to call on God to give light to our eyes to see things the way that he wants us to see them. And so I want to read something really quick. This was an email that was sent to me. Actually, it was a Facebook message that was sent to me by Jude's precious aide, Stacy. And I'm going to just say student, where some of the students are mentioned. And this is someone who has given light to my eyes and helped me to not focus on Jude's struggles, but focus on Jude's pretty awesome characteristics. Hey Lainey, I know you guys have had some hard times with Jude lately, but I just wanted to encourage you and let you know how amazingly cool your little boy is. Can I tell you about his sweetness? Every single day when he walks down the bus steps, runs into my arms, kisses my cheek, and hangs on until I carry him into the school. Every single day. Can I tell you about his compassion, like the time student had a seizure on the cafeteria floor and Jude laid down beside him and rubbed his legs so gently until it was over? Can I tell you about his silliness, like when he sticks his Play-Doh stingray in my face and says, psst, then makes me kiss it? Can I tell you about his sense of humor, like today when student did something very silly and Jude said, student's name, and then just laughed and laughed? Can I tell you about his heart, like when he folds his hands, or our hands, and says, amen? Can I tell you about his intelligence, like when he answers every single question correctly? Can I tell you about his creativity, like when he creates an imaginary world out of the toys that he's playing with, or somehow figures out how to build something pretty cool out of anything? And can I tell you how lucky we are to get to teach him and watch him grow, like when he spontaneously blurts out a new word or phrase? You have one amazingly cool kid. We do have some tough times at school here and there, but I love that he feels safe enough with us that when he needs to let it all out, that he knows he can go crazy for a minute and then lay his head in our laps while we hold him. He has come so far since the beginning of the school year. Every day, he is creating his own boundaries and self-regulating his behavior more and more. So be encouraged during these tough times. Keep fighting the fight. Jude is amazing. That is somebody who has light in her eyes, and I cannot ever thank Stacy enough for writing me that note. And I keep it in my Bible. It's printed out because sometimes days do get dark, and it seems like all you can see is the negative and the things that you wish your child could do, and that just overshadows all the good. But we hope we've been an encouragement to you tonight, and I know we all have our own stuff, I like to say. We never ever hold anybody to our standard of pain. Pain comes and suffering comes in all different shapes and forms, and just because you don't have a disabled child doesn't mean that you're not entitled to suffer. Pain is real no matter what vehicle it rides into your life. So I hope you're encouraged whatever your circumstances are, and I think that these little nuggets of truth that Jude has brought into our lives can be applied to your life. And one more way that our little boy is bringing praise and honor and glory to God, just like God told us he would. And we want to share him with you and all the things he's teaching us. And so yeah, thanks for watching. Sorry you couldn't see real life today. And
This is real life. It's really happening right now.
This actually is really happening, but I'm talking about like
Throughout the day, you're...
craziness.
Yeah.
This calmness thing is not normal.
It's almost not real.
No. So, yeah, thanks for watching. Anything else?
No.
Okay, see you tomorrow.